Welcome to Yoga Teacher Journeys, your podcast for all things yoga and mindful living. I'm Claire.
And I'm Bianca, and we're two yoga teachers sharing the insights and wisdom we've picked up along our journey so far.
Whether you're thinking about teacher training or exploring yoga as a way of life, join us weekly for inspiring conversations.
Let's go on this journey together.
Hello again.
Hello. Episode 20. I can't believe.
Wow, it's crazy. I love how we're in matching outfits as well. I've got white
yeah.
t-shirt.
Sort of matching backgrounds now.
Yeah, kind of. We've got more neutrals. Oh, how's it going where you are?
It's good. I'm at my friend's place in Geneva today, so slightly different background again. Doing some remote working, going to different studios, and yeah, just lifing really, isn't it? There's always so many things going on, trying to find different places to teach and share the yoga love. So yeah, what about you?
Life is lifing. It's been a week of bits and bobs happening. It's kind of like a bit of networking here. I've got a few new classes in the pipeline actually, which is exciting. It feels like it's all happening. Things are happening beneath the surface and just showing up basically every day. So everything's all right. That's all we can do. Yeah. I've been back from India a month now.
No way.
And it's gone so fast. And I feel the first month, I have to say, being back in the UK was it's a bit rocky.
That's
Yeah, it's just like a lot of integration to do. And I think I had to like fall apart a few times, let it go, to then come back in and settle. So yeah, I've just been riding the waves, really.
Yeah, you seem good now.
I think I'm a bit more grounded.
Wow.
I was totally not grounded in India.
Oh, well, it's hard.
But I remember that time, one of the podcasts we were recording, the setup for the podcast, and I was like, wow, I'm making the best of the situation that I'm in, but this is not ideal. So I'm happy to be home, sitting on a seat.
Yes, with stable Wi-Fi connection.
Stable Wi-Fi connection, and my laptop in a place where it's not going to topple over. No mosquitoes.
True. Well, yes. I mean, there's always pros and cons to every situation.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. Everything's a sacrifice, but yeah, I'm very grateful to be back in the UK and to be here recording episode 20 of our podcast. We were just saying that it's nearly been a year.
Nearly a year on the 23rd of the month. When you think about how far we've come and everything that's happened, it's just hard to even take it all in. And I suppose one of the things that's helped us along the way is one of the pillars of yoga, breath, breathing. And I think it's often something that people forget, that we need the breath to live, of course. And when we practice yoga, the breath work is called pranayama, and prana is our life force energy. You can't live without the breath. And so today we want to talk a bit more about the breath. We have spoken about different breathwork practices in the past and how some can help with calming down the nervous system, but really that's what we're here to explore. So what does the breathwork mean to you and how do you integrate it into your classes?
So yeah, talking about pranayama is the control of the breath. And when we can control the breath, we can control the mind. Okay. And it's such an important part of yoga. It's huge. If you're not breathing properly, like you just said, you're not going to be getting that life force energy into the whole of your system. And if you're only breathing into like your shoulder, like the clavicle, like to here, if you're just having that shallow breathing, like you're missing like the rest of your body. And we need that energy to move through the body to keep everything in flow and to keep everything balanced. So if we're not breathing properly, we're probably going to feel really sluggish. We're going to feel lethargic. We start hunching over at the shoulders. This is where dis-ease sets in, right? If we're not breathing and moving everything through the body properly, things get trapped. And when things get trapped, it causes a whole host of issues, right? So for me, breath is way more important than we would ever, maybe then I really realized until I started going down the yoga path. So in my classes, I always start the session with pranayama. Depending on what time of day it is, sometimes it can be more of an activating breath, sometimes it's more of a grounding. I read the room and see where we're at. One that I've been doing lately actually is the 3-part yogic breath. I love this one. I love this practice. And what I actually get my students to do, we've been laying on the floor and we grab a yoga block and pop the block on your belly and then take a big breath in, filling up to the bottom of the lungs, and you feel the block raise up off your belly. Then you fill up through the chest and then into the shoulders. And then as you exhale, shoulders, chest, tummy. So it's taking that 3-part breath and allowing the breath to come all the way down like that. Like it's like a practice, really. There's like a muscle. For me, I find it quite difficult to breathe that deeply. And obviously, we're not going to be breathing that deeply all day long, every day. But having this practice in your toolbox is really, really beneficial for the nervous system, for managing the mind. Like, it's always something that you can come back to, because breathing deeply like that is going to help to activate the rest and digest part of the nervous system, which is you're safe here. You can be present. Like, you don't need to be, the stress response doesn't need to be activated right now. So yeah, we live in a very fast-paced world in the West. So I think breathing is right here that we forget about so often.
Definitely. I was actually, one of my students, it was her first ever yoga class. And she asked me, why do we breathe through the nose? And I really had to pause and think about this. But actually, it is exactly what you said. It's about coming down the nervous system. When we breathe through the nose, when we exhale, we come into the rest and digest, that parasympathetic nervous system. When you inhale and exhale through the nose, you're able to manage your heart rate a little bit more and go more slowly. And actually, I'm using it in running at the moment. If I'm breathing through my nose, I know that my BPM will be more around 130. I'll stay in my zone 2. And so that's another way of keeping the nervous system calm. So that's why breathing through the nose as well is so powerful, to help us tap into that parasympathetic nervous system and to help manage stress and anxiety. And so it was really interesting that that student asked me, why do we breathe through the nose in yoga? And then another interesting conversation that I had was, my mum asked me to create a little yoga routine for her so that she can improve her mobility. And we also spoke about the breath, and we did a little bit of pranayama together. I just demonstrated a few things. And she said to me she had never even realized that she was breathing through her mouth her entire life, and that you could breathe only through the nose. How crazy is that?
Wow. When I was at the ashram, we did, neti, the nasal cleansing, because they say the nose is the start of the respiratory system, right? So if we want to breathe properly, we need to purify where the energy is entering. So we used the neti pots and we did the nose cleansing. So that was really cool. Actually, it's maybe just something that's never been brought to your awareness, but if you're not breathing properly, imagine what you're missing out on.
Exactly. Exactly. And because we are so distracted and we don't have time to slow down and notice anything anymore, of course you're not going to notice your breath, and you're going to notice how important it is. And that's why in every class there's always pranayama, some form of pranayama, even if the class is quite short, because giving yourself that space for that awareness can be so important. And noticing the effect of the pranayama, the awareness phase, is so, so key. Noticing any sensations in the body, but then also any clarity in the mind. And I think we just aren't given that opportunity nowadays.
Yeah, I like to, when I at the start of the class, obviously coming into the space and just grounding, it's like, actually, let's anchor into this present moment. Let's use the breath to do that. So let's focus on deepening the breath. And as we deepen and slow the breath, your heart rate, as you said, your heart rate will then start to slow down. And then once you slow down the heart, your mind starts to go a little bit quieter, because it's all linked. So we slow down the breath to slow down the heart, and we slow down the heart to quiet the mind. When we can quiet the mind, we can be more in the experience. And that is how you manage your mind. Absolutely. So if you notice when you're stressed, I mean, this is in my experience, when I'm stressed, my breathing is very shallow, right? But if this is the thing as well, and this is what can kind of take you into a bit of a panic. If you then are only breathing to here, this shallow breath is going to stimulate the sympathetic part of the nervous system. So if we're only breathing shallow, it's actually going to be like stress, signal stress to the nervous system, actually like, this isn't okay. And then you end up getting yourself into this kind of stress spiral. So when you're stressed, it's very normal to have that shallow breathing. But what we need to do is recognize it. Okay, my body's going into this kind of stress space. how can I deepen my breath? And as you start to then deepen the breath, you can complete those kind of stress loops and not stay stuck in them for too long. You can manage it, like it's okay.
Absolutely. It's definitely something you can manage, and I use it in my daily life. So if I notice any kind of sort of stressful situation, I just go straight back to the breath. I go back to grounding, noticing my surroundings, the present moment where I am, and the breath as well. It's something that can just help you so much in your daily life, and no one has to even notice that you're doing it. That's what's so powerful.
Yeah, and it's one of those things like, yeah, you can be sitting in a meeting and just like really connect, sit up nice and tall and just feel the breath come all the way down to the tummy. Because so often I think so many of us in the West, we sit like hunched over like this. So of course, even if we're trying to breathe deeply, it's going to only get so far. So proper breathing is going to help with posture. It's going to help with everything. It's really, really important, not just in your yoga class, but like in the whole of your life. And if we can have these practices, so say like when people come to our yoga classes, they're learning from us, right? They're learning from other people in the room. They're learning from themselves. How can you then use everything that you've learned in that yoga class outside of that as well? Because these aren't tools just for the mat. These are tools for life.
That is so true.
Mhm.
This is yoga off the mat.
Yeah, and yoga is not just on the mat. It's not just that 1 hour of the day. It's your whole life.
It is. It is.
And if you're not breathing properly, you know.
And I was sharing this actually. So I got invited to this Budapest book club to talk a little bit during the book club about yoga, because the book they were reading was about trauma. And there was a chapter about how yoga can help with managing trauma, which was really interesting. And so I did a couple of slides just talking about, what is yoga? What is the goal of yoga? So easing suffering, so on and so forth. And then the breath, and we did Nadi Shodhana, so the alternate nostril breathing all together. And I think for a lot of people, it was the first time that they felt grounded, calm. That's, noticing the sense of what does a breathing technique do to your body. So I think that was really special to share that, and I would love to do all of that, even if it is exactly like just I was on a Zoom call with 20 people on the other side in a different country, and we're just talking about yoga and how you can use it in your daily life.
Yeah, I love that. So it's powerful, right? And it can take, even if you did 5 minutes of alternate nostril breathing, like it's nothing really. That's as long as you'd spend scrolling on your, well, a small amount. Scroll for a lot longer than that. But do you know what I mean? Like there is time to put little 5 minutes of breath work into your day, and those little pockets are going to help you, tremendously.
And I think it's more accessible than meditation, because people do struggle with meditation quite a bit. And they always talk about, oh, but I have too many thoughts, I can't meditate. Of course, that's not the case. It's about training your mind to that single point of concentration and choosing whatever that is. But that's the first step. You have to choose the point of concentration, and that can be your breath. Therefore, focusing first on practicing breathing properly, breath work, pranayama, is kind of that first step towards helping you with meditation too.
Yeah, and then if we're looking at, say, like you were talking there about releasing trauma and things in the body, if we're looking at the chakra system, the energy centers in the body, so the aim is obviously to have this clear pathway so that energy can flow through the body. So if we're not breathing properly, that's when things start to get trapped and we get blocks in the chakras. And when there's blocks in the chakras, we're imbalanced. Okay, and when we're imbalanced, life feels a bit, it's tough. We're not flowing as best that we could. So when we can, in yoga, we get our body into these positions, which are sacred shapes that we're creating with the body to allow the flow of prana, the life force energy, to flow properly. So if we're not breathing deep enough, we're not going to get the full flow.
Exactly.
So the more we can breathe, the more we can use the breath, the more we can purify and cleanse the body. And at the end of the day, the goal of yoga is to purify everything so that you can be here now and not stuck in your head.
Yeah, you want to ease that suffering. You want to connect with yourself, with others, and you can't really do that if your energy is blocked, if you are in a negative spiral, or you're not be in tune with yourself, in tune with your body. Are you really here? Are you really living if you're not in tune with yourself? Like the most important relationship you'll have is with yourself your entire life. So if you're not in touch with yourself, what kind of life are you living? You're not really here.
Yeah, like where is your mind? If your mind is like all over the place, it means you're not really here, right? So coming back to the breath, it's a really, really great practice to just bring you back into the present moment. So if anything, just notice how it feels to breathe, right? So as you just take a big breath in through your nose, how does it feel as the air enters through the nostrils? Right? How does it feel then as the air leaves the nostrils on the exhale? It's probably a little bit warmer, and you've probably never noticed that before, right? And also then notice that gap, that little pause between the inhale and the exhale. Just notice these things. And when you start bringing your energy and your awareness to it, it's like, oh. And how amazing that our bodies just breathe for us without us even having to think about it. So we never really think about the functionality of the body. And that's something to be really, really grateful for. Our bodies, we need this life force energy. So we breathe, and it's not something we have to think about. If we have to think about it, like that would take a lot of energy. But we can then intentionally deepen and use the breath to manage our minds and manage ourselves.
And I mean,
it's pretty cool.
That expression of that, you take your last breath. I mean, breath is everything. So we're here to bring awareness to it. And
yeah, I'd love to have more discussions about this. If anyone has anything, and there's no right or wrong, everyone's got a different experience with pranayama, and this is just surface level. Like there's so much more we could explore, but we just wanted this to almost be just like an entry point for people to just be like, oh, okay, let me just try breathing through my nose and see how it feels. Just take a moment.
Take a moment. If that's one thing you do today.
Yeah, just breathe.
Just breathe.
Yeah. With awareness. Breathe with awareness. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. The world needs more of that, of course.
It does.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, to be continued. There's more to say on this, but I think that's a good place to end the pod.
I think so too. I think it's a good start. I think it's short and enough to get people thinking, which is what we're really looking to do today. We'll be back next week with some more topics.
Yes.
Stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.